Hi guys, School here. Welcome to my first look video on Railroads Online. An indie game. Not sure how many devs are on this thing, but it's an indie game. It's a train... Oh, how do you describe this? Train simulation, yes. It's got trains in it, it's got locomotives in it, it's got cars in it, it's got industry, got move goods around. Kind of like Derail Valley, I guess, if you wanted to compare it to that. Derail Valley is probably its nearest thing to compare it to. However, it is very, very different in one crucial aspect. I don't think any other train game has done this before. You build your own track. All of this here, all this track, all this ground here, all these switches, everything here. Well, this was just full of trees when I first turned up. All this has been laid out by me. The only thing that was here was this industry. And I have to move the iron ore from here somewhere else if I want to get paid. So in this first look video, I'm going to talk you through, show you the different locomotives available, different cars available, talk about the industries, what you get to do in the game, talk about physics, the multiplayer side of it, because yes, it does have multiplayer, and also some of the downsides of the game. So let's get started. Right, so let's start off by having a look at the locomotives that are in the game, because I'm sure that's what you're interested in. This is Steam-based, so everything in the game right now is Steam. I think the devs hinted that he wanted to put a diesel in there at some point, but very much wanted to stay in the era that he's in, which is essentially Steam. So these are some of the locomotives here. In fact, this is most of them. If I press the G key, which is the main menu screen, and click on locomotives, what we can do is we can start to have a look, not just at the cars available, but the locomotives. So I'll talk about the cars first. So this is a flat car. You buy these, you buy all the cars in the game, depending on what you're looking to do. This is the flat car tier 1, so this is responsible for moving logs and steel pipes. The tier 2, which is this one that has the stakes on the side here, moves lumber, raw iron, rails and beams. The flat car 3 moves cordwood and oil barrel. The hopper is how we move iron ore and coal around the map. The tanker is used for crude oil, and then the boxcar is moved to use tools around that you can make in the game. Finally, there is a caboose available, which you can stick on the back of your consist if you want, and you can basically operate the brake on all the cars, but the caboose is obviously traditionally used for that kind of thing. So when you're perhaps descending down a hill, you can put the brake on the back, and that just kind of pulls the consist apart a bit and give you more stability as you're descending, because especially with empty cars, they tend to separate. Yes, you can derail in this game, absolutely. So looking at the, in quotes, locomotive, this is the first one, the hand car, completely useless. The porter is something that you start with. So you start the game with a porter like this, a couple of cars, if I remember, and a bit of money. And that's your railroading life. To build track, it doesn't cost money currently. To chop down trees, it doesn't cost money currently. Whether that changes or not in the future, I don't know. There's a tier 1 and a tier 2 version of the porter. The difference is in the wheel arrangement. This has 0 trailing wheels at the back, though, whereas the tier 2 has a set of trailing wheels and a bit more weight. So a bit more stability on the porter 2. Then you've got the Eureka. Eureka's not a bad train. It just doesn't really... It has cheese brakes and not a great deal of tractive effort, but it does look fantastic. On each train, you've got some configuration options that you can have, which we'll go through. This one has 3 headlight configurations. Then you go up to the Climax. The Climax brings with it a smokestack option. Well, actually 2 more smokestack options, but no options on the headlights. So this weighs a lot more, but it has more drive wheels, so it's way more stable. The Heisler, cracking locomotive. This one uses an awful lot. Decent top speed, and when I say top speed, we're talking like 16 miles an hour. These things are pretty slow. This is a narrow gauge track, by the way. It's like 3-foot gauge track. The dev has said that's all he's going to put in. He's only going to put in narrow gauge, I believe. So they are, don't expect speed and power from any of these trains. Then you move up to the Cookie Mogul, the tier 5. Again, has smokestack options. Huge amount of weight. 6 connected drive wheels though, so a lot of grunts on this one. It has its own tender box. And then the final one in the game is the DNRG Class 70. Haven't driven this one yet, but 8 drive wheels, massive tender box on the back. Yeah, you buy this stuff and then you drive it. So, having shown you the locomotive and the cars, let's have a quick look at the map, such as it is, because I just want to briefly talk about the industry. There's way too much in this game to really talk about in depth in a first look video, but I can give you an overview. So what you're looking at is a top-down view of the map. The map is fixed, and you have these different sites in it. So you've got, at the top there, you've got the smelter and the sawmill, the log camp, the freight depot, which is where we are. If I turn my character, you can see the arrow move here. This is where you start, but you start with next to nothing. In a minute, I'll switch over to a new game, and I'll show you how much you don't get when you start. All this track here is just not here. What you have to do, essentially, is connect these industries together, and the challenge of the game lies in the fact that there are a lot of hills, a lot of slopes, and you've got to work out how to build track that isn't too steep, isn't too curved, that gets you from point to point, from place to place, so that you can then take trains and move cars. Now, what might surprise you when you first start playing this game is you can't just jump in your train and start hauling cargo like you can, say, in Derail Valley. Oh no, because you're going to spend the first few hours clearing trees and connecting track together. Your first port of call is going to be that log camp, where you're going to want to take the logs down to the sawmill. That's the first thing you're going to want to do. But to do that, you need to get trains there, and trains come from the depot, right? So really, when you start the game, you're going to go from depot to log camp to sawmill, and then you're going to start getting paid. But that will take you quite a few hours just to lay track, even when you get used to laying track. And that is a whole different ballgame. So in terms of industry, you move logs around the map so that you move logs to the sawmill, create planks and beams and that kind of thing. You can take cordwood down to the smelter. You've then got to bring iron ore down to the smelter and create iron bars and rails. You then move those things up to the coal mine so that you can generate coal, bring all of that down to the ironworks, make iron with it, if you like, and then you can move stuff to the oil field where you gather oil, and then you take the oil to refinery and then you take everything. You can sell anything at the depot, that should be said. You can bring anything to this depot and sell it. And initially, that's how you're going to make money, because you're going to bring either logs or you're going to bring planks from the sawmill down here to the depot, unload, and the game will pay you for it. But later on, you're going to start just moving things from one industry to another to generate better output to get paid more, because ultimately the higher level items like oil you will pay a lot more money than just logs. This is a firewood stack, so this is where you bring your locomotive here to get some firewood. What you have to do is put logs in the back here. So if you put logs into here, it generates firewood piles there, and you put that into the back of your locomotive to generate power. Speaking of power, let's have a quick look at how we drive a locomotive. Now, the physics are pretty good in this game, and certainly the moving parts. You can see all the drive axles move around when you operate a locomotive. Let me just jump in the back of this one. So they all kind of work in a similar fashion, in that what you do is you start by opening the hatch, which you hold your mouse button down and then drag either up or down in this case. And if you look at the firebox, top left, it says 38%. That's how much wood, if you like, is in there. So if I left click on some of this firewood and then right click to throw it in, you see it puts more wood into the fire. So you've got to keep the wood in there to keep the firebox running. If I look at the ground and press F, it then puts me into driver mode. V key will zoom me in and out. And what you've got here is the controls, which I won't go through in detail in this video, but suffice to say, you've got your regulator reverser, the whistle, generator for generating electricity so that you can put the light on, although it has to be said, there we go. Why are you not coming on? Why are you not coming on? I don't know. Works on the other trains. It has to be said that there's no day-night cycle yet, and there's no weather yet, so it's always sunny and blue skies in this game. The generator does normally generate electricity for the lights. The compressor would generate air for the main tank, which we need to brake. So if we release the brake, put the reverser into forward and hit the regulator, you see we start moving, yeah? And then we can hit the brake, switch the reverser back the other way. Go back the other way, hit the brake. Hopefully don't ram into the locomotive behind us. And then you've got the bell, which you can operate there. And then you've got the sander, if you're struggling for grip. Cylinder cocks currently doesn't do anything. Cylinder cocks is to do with the piston and ejecting water from the cylinders and things to stop damage to the cylinders. But that's not model yet. So these are the locomotives. You've seen the cars and stuff. What we'll do now is we'll jump over to a brand new game and you'll see what you start with, and I'll show you how you lay track and that kind of thing. Right, this is how the game begins. Look at this. It's a little bit different, isn't it? So this fixed area here is your spawn point area. This is where you start off with that little Betsy there, which is a porter class, and then you've got this here, which is a single car, which you can put logs in the back. It's a tier 1 car, and it's in the wrong order, so that's in front of that. And just to troll you even more, there's trees in the way. Yeah, that's how the game begins. You press the P key, it shows you how much money and level. So you start off with $2,000. From this, you could obviously buy some more cars. So you might go to Locomotives and say, you know what, let's just have some more flat cars. By the way, you can name and number these. You can call that 01, for example, and then put your name tag in there, and then click order. So the first thing you're probably going to want to do is order some more of these cars here. We'll have that as like 01. What I'll do, I'll show you how to do. Let me just chuck some wood in the back of this thing. Speaking of wood, we don't even have a... Oh, yes, we do. Let's open that. So we've got a very small pile of wood here. That's the other thing, is the actual... it doesn't have its own tinderbox at the back of this thing, so it really is limited in its range. And also, I forgot to mention the water level. So the water level is here. I'm going to stick the compressor on because you don't have any brake pressure either. That's the first mistake of the game, by the way, brake pressure. You need to put the compressor on, otherwise you will not... Why are you not going on? Otherwise you won't be able to generate any air in the main tank. Maybe it has to warm up first. Also, I forgot to mention, you can actually operate everything in first person. So if you find all the levers and stuff, there's the brake there, you can just operate the brake lever manually. So if you want to play the game from a first person perspective, you absolutely can. The only thing is, it's a little bit awkward because you're always too tall for the window, and when you crouch, you're too low. So it's pretty awkward trying to drive this way. But if you look at the ground and press F, you always end up in this view, and it's much easier to drive that way, I think. So what you're going to want to do is assemble these cars together. So you have to do your own shunting. You're going to buy your own cars, configure everything, shunt it, build a consist, and then haul. Press the G key, click on log, click on a tree. Thankfully, there's no charge right now to fell trees. There used to be, and whether that will come back in the future, I don't know. You don't get to use the trees either. They don't appear anywhere else. Again, may change in the future. But I'm just going to get rid of these so I can show you how basic shunting works. Let's get rid of all them. Let's get rid of that one as well. Right, you'll also notice I don't have enough track ahead of me. So that gives me a good, it's a good excuse to show you how to lay track. So you'll notice that this is on groundwork, and it's always a good idea to build groundwork. This is not going to be an in-depth tutorial. I am just going to show you quickly how this works. So you press G, click on groundwork. There's a couple of different types. There's the normal ground, and then there's the stone wall ground. So normal ground, if you click on it and drag it out, looks like that. And a stone wall ground, funnily enough, if you click at it and drag it out, looks like that. So you've got this little stone edge to it. Whatever purpose you're trying to do, that's, you can use either or. Both of them can be graded. So if you click on it, like if I do this, click, drag it. If I now, top left, press the up arrow key or the down arrow key, I can change the gradient of this thing. So I could make like a 3% gradient like that. Click, and then if I come over to here, I can then click again, and that's how I can basically make a level. So I know that's a 3% grade. When I want to build track on it, press the G key again, click on rails. Now you've got the different options. So you've got your normal rail, and then you've got a switch right or a switch left, and the only difference is which side the actual lever's on. But that switch is left, if you like, and that switch is right. This deck is made when you put it on a trestle bridge, a couple of turntables and a crossover. So if we just go with 3-foot rail, so you click on it, drag it out, click, drag it out, click, drag it out, click. Right click when you're done. And that is basically how you build track. So when you want to remove things, you can go to demolish here, and if we leave it on rails, it will just remove the rails. Yeah, so if I click on this, it won't remove it. If I choose groundwork and click demolish, it will now start to remove groundwork items as well. So that's how you basically set about building things. And from that, wonderful and amazing things can be made. But let me just quickly show you. What you want to do is look at this until you get the chain link, and that's going to link it to the last one. Now, obviously, your first piece, you don't want to be like this. So you have to keep it as straight as possible like that. And then you can just build out like this. That there, when it disappeared, the maximum length, I can't remember the size of it, but the maximum length's like, I don't know, 20 feet or something before it stops. Now you've got to make sure that these are the points, so you can see that when they operate, they actually do move the points here. So we're going to make sure it's going left because we want to come the train out this way. And then this is thrown left as well, so we can go down to that middle bit. So you can re-rail trains. That's another thing. So I'm just going to show you quickly, but you can't re-rail onto anything you've not built. So I should be able to re-rail this onto that up there. Again, there's no charge for re-railing currently, so I'll show you. Click G, hit re-rail, click on the train, left click on the actual locomotive. On top left, it says re-rail the porter. Again, if you look at this track here, it won't let you re-rail because we didn't build this. This is a fixed asset that you can't touch. It is what it is. But this up here we've now built, so we should, in theory, be able to drop the locomotive on here. But it's not playing ball for some reason. It might just be out of range or something. Come over here. There we go. And a right click to drop it in. Now, question is, can I re-rail from here over to here? I'm not sure what the range of the re-rail is. It may just be that I was trying to do it too far. When you re-rail a car, there we go. When you re-rail a car, you don't lose the contents. You used to, but at the moment, like if I re-rail a car full of iron ore, a gondola full of iron ore, it won't empty, it won't tip out. And re-railing doesn't cost anything, and I don't lose the contents. That will probably change, or at very least be an option in the future, I think. So I'm going to press the F key, and we're just going to move this thing back. So we're going to put the brake off, go to reverser, and then turn this on. And I've got no brake pressure, so I've got no brakes at the moment. So we need to get that compressor going, but for some reason the compressor's not working. Does this not have a compressor? Ah. Okay, it looks like this porter doesn't have an actual compressor. I think then it must just be a brake lever that you spin. Interesting. The other ones have a compressor which puts air in the main tank. This one doesn't seem to do that. So what you need to do, let me just slow it down a little bit. What you need to do is you need to get the... When you want to link a car, there's a few aspects to it. There's an actual link, like a loop, and then there's the pins. So what you need to do is... What I do anyway, is go to the car that's stationary, left click to put the loop in, and then right click to pin it. And then when this comes over to here, you right click on it to put the pin in the other side. That's the basis of what you're doing. Now I've left the brake on that car quite deliberately. So I'm just going to... So you come in at a steady pace. Leave the brake on this car. If I was shunting two together, I would leave the brake on that one and take the brake off this one so it pushes it into that one. But for the purpose of what we're doing here... Come on, a little bit quicker, please. A little bit quicker. We're making a video here, bro. Come on. Come on. You can do it. So you can see the actual thing there. When you look at it, it highlights. So I'm just going to wait till that gets there. And then I'm going to right-click, and that's now pinned. Now we just release the brake, and this car is now ready to go, basically. If I click on the F key, take that off, that will now pull that. Now, those links have a certain amount of brake tolerance, so if you bang it round a bend and, you know, you can snap the links and cars can derail is what I'm trying to say. So it's entirely physics-based. The way the physics works is when you start the game, you can choose how difficult you want the industry to be or how realistic you want the physics to be. And all that really affects is the weight of the stuff on the back of the car. So you can go all the way up to realistic, where the tractive effort of the loco and the weight, the mass of the stuff that you put on the back is realistic. Or you can step it down to hard, medium, or easy. So you can make the game as difficult or easy as you want in that respect. And the other thing you can tune is the industry. So the price they pay for various items in the game, you can scale that so that you get more or less input and output, if that makes any sense. In other words, on easy, one item in will punt out 2 items out. On medium, it's 1-to-1, and on hard, you'll need to put 2 items in to get 1 output. So it just scales the actual difficulty of the industry, not the amount of money that you get paid. So as I said, this is the depot over here. So you're going to want to have a link to this thing initially, because remember, the first goal is to get from the depot up to the log camp to get some logs, and then you can bring them back here and sell them. It won't pay much money at all, but you know, you've got to start somewhere. So what I would do if you're just starting out is get yourself a constant grade bit of groundwork over here like that. Left click and then right click to commit it, and then go constant grade again, and then come back down this way and just get yourself down the side of this depot like that, and then you're going to want to build some track and come back the other way. Now, when you left click and put the first piece down, the second piece you can do this with, but if you look top left, if you press the Alt key, that will lock it. So now when I move, this is always straight. And what I can also do, if you look at the controls top left, is if I press the right arrow key or the left arrow key, I can start to build a constant radius curve. So I can put it on 10 degrees, and if I keep clicking this, it'll go round at 10 degrees, which is pretty useful. For now, I'll just put it on 0, but it effectively guarantees that what we're doing here is building a straight piece of track. Now, obviously, I've started at a bit of an angle, so I'm slightly off, but you get the idea. That's fine. That's a nice straight piece of track. So what you're going to do is join that track to this track via a switch. And what you do is push those pieces further up, go to rails, and then you might, for example, go switch left. Wait till you get your little chain link, like, come on. Oh, it won't build it because of this tree's in the way. Go to bridge, switch left, like that. It'll snap it on, and what you've now got is a junction that you can use. So now we could have, you know, this track going off one way, this track going off the other, or when we join them up, we can just join them together by doing one of these things. You want to join this and then build your way all the way up to the log camp. However, let me just show you what it looks like en route to the log camp. Okay, so this is the depot where you start, and what you want to do is you want to come this way. Now notice there's just trees everywhere, right? So it's quite flat here. It's not too difficult to build on the way to sawmill. It's just basically a flat valley, but you've got to fell all these trees and build a track which comes to that sawmill there. But that needs logs, and the logs are over here. So you're going to want to turn left and come this way. And this is where it starts to get hilly. There's like a ridge here. Can you see it? So you've got to kind of work your way around this, work your way through these elevation changes, and then eventually you want to bring yourself to here, which is the sawmill. Now, the sawmill itself has a couple of platforms, as you can see. One is the unloading side for the lumber, and the other one is the unloading side for the cordwood and that kind of thing. There's different types of wood that you can get from here. This wood needs to go down to that sawmill, but also you'll need to bring that lumber back towards the depot if you've got the firewood loading thing there, if you remember, because you need firewood for your actual trains. That's the sawmill. They'll make beams and lumber. Then you have to bring it through this valley. Notice the terrain here is really bumpy. Again, you've got to clear trees, work out the route through this that you want to take, and then your destination for some of the lumber is going to be there. That is the smelter. Notice the smelter's in the bottom of a valley. There's a heck of an elevation change between here and here, so trying to get down there is quite tricky. And then after that, you're basically looking at going up to the iron ore mine. You can see the iron ore mine right up there in the distance, so you've got to get iron ore from there, down that valley, all the way into here. That is no mean feat. That's basically the challenge of the game, is building the track on this map and then moving locomotives and consist around. So I've given you I think a decent overview of the game. I thought we'd end this video by taking a look at actually some driving physics while I talk about the game itself and why I've played it for over 60 hours. I'm still playing it, but it's not a perfect game, and I'm going to tell you about some of the downsides of the game. First of all, though, let me just pull this car forward because we need to finish loading that rear car down there with iron ore. We'll take some iron ore down to the smelter. So I'll show you the loading and unloading. Of course I jumped out the right side. Why not the left side, eh? So this is the iron ore mine, and as I said earlier, this is the, I came up here and flattened it all and built all this track and this kind of thing. And there's an infinite number of ways that you can do this. That's the point, is there's no one way of building out this particular area, and there's no one way down. I've gone that way. Other people have gone back that way. That's the beauty of it. Everybody's map is different. So this is the iron ore chute. Let me just quickly talk about the inputs to this. So this is the iron ore industry, and it needs lumber and it needs beams. Both of these things come from the sawmill, but you obviously have to hold them both up. This takes 30 beams, this takes 50 lumber, so you can't unload more than the capacity of the input here. In order to produce more iron ore, I need to bring beams. If I brought beams and started unloading it here, what would happen is this iron ore would start to generate, and it does take time, but it starts to generate up to its maximum capacity of 290, you see that. Now, if we start filling this up, this will take 10 units, so 92, there's still quite a lot there. If I get on here, and you'll see, there's two chutes I can use. I'll just use the first one, so we click and drag the first one down like that. Now, if I look down at the gondola, I can see it filling up, but if I interestingly look to the right there, it then highlights and tells me top left how much it's got. 3 of 10, 2,250 kilos and so on. So this is an example of how the interface is a little bit janky. The game is a little bit weird in that you have to sort of look in the wrong place in order to highlight things. But same with this chute here. I'm looking at the chute, but if I look there, looks at that one. It's just, it needs polish, right? So first thing is, be aware that this game is early access and it needs polish. Not just in the UI, as you can see, the interface itself, in the click spots, but also just, the things that you do in the game, like the ability to build track, can be, at times, frustrating. Let me just lift that up. It will just sit there and throw away iron ore if you're not careful. So if I look at that now, 10 out of 10, 7.5 tons, or 16,000 pounds for you in the US. 7.5 tons per car, and I think we've got 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 cars. There you go. So quite a lot of weight. Now, the best way to haul this down, because the brake on the locomotive is good, on the Heisler especially, it's good, but it's not enough to stop this thing from accelerating. We're going to need the brake on a car as well. So what I'm going to do first is get it over this ridge, because after that it's like a 3% grade roughly all the way down there. Check that the points are set. Get it over the ridge, and then I'm going to slow the train down, jump to the back, activate the rear brake on the car, and then release the brake on Doyle and just use Doyle's brake. Doyle is what I've called my locomotive, named after my dog, or one of my dogs. But we'll take the brake off, and then we'll just use the brake on Doyle to just regulate the speed so we don't go too quickly. To which the next question is, where is your speed shown? To which the answer is, nowhere. It doesn't show you your speed anywhere. Look, it's not in here. It's not on any of the dials. There's no speed gauge. So you never really know what speed you're doing. You just got to eyeball it. Now, there are ways to work around. So there's some quality of life stuff you can get from a mod called Railroads Online Extended, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. And that one will show the speed and will let you remotely control the brakes on cars, locomotives, and teleport around and give you a nice zoomable map, unlike this kind of fixed one that we get in the game. But that's not going to be covered in this video. I just want to cover the actual game itself. Now you can see we're starting to pick up speed, so I'm just going to put the brake on here. And then I'm going to jump to the rear car. Now Derail Valley, if you've ever played Derail Valley, has like a remote control that you can use to operate the train remotely. You kind of work up to it, right? Let me just put the brake on here. So we'll put that on, I'll put it on about 80%. And then we'll have to take the brake off Doyle in order to get going. There's no such remote control built into the game, but you have to use that Railroads Online Extended if you want a remote control. To which the next question is, well, can you double head trains? Can you put 2 locomotives at the front or 1 locomotive at the front, 1 at the back? Yes, you can. And it does actually work. Let's get rid of this brake now. Put the regulator in just to get it going again. We have got that rear brake on, but gravity should take over now anyway. You can double head trains. You can put 2 locomotives here, and it will, the full tractive force will work. However, you have to operate the locomotives independently, so you can jump from one to the other to operate them. Or you play the game as it was intended, which is multiplayer. So you get in a train with your friend. He sits in the back there within a caboose, maybe operates the brake, or in the second locomotive when you're going uphill. And you just coordinate. You just say 80% regulator, 70% regulator, whatever you're doing, coordinate. Or use Railroads Online Extended, which has the option to allow one locomotive to master control the others, which then become a slave, and then you can operate multi-headed trains. The possibilities are there. You can do it, but some of the stuff, isn't built into the game. Some of it kind of requires multiplayer. It is a lot of fun in multiplayer, this game. Let's start off by saying that. There's a lot to do. Cutting down a lot of trees and building all of this bridge here, and winding it through there and getting your curves right and then laying the track and joining it up, it takes time. You will burn hours playing this game just doing that stuff. Make no mistake about it. But what you end up with is a lot of pride. When you've built a track that works, you've solved a problem, you've navigated your way through the side of a mountain and built some really cool track, and you drive it, I gotta say, it's a good feeling, right? And no other game offers that. Well, no other train game offers that, because in most train games, the track comes already pre-made and you just drive the trains around them. In this game, you build the whole thing yourself with your friends and then drive around it. Can be a bit frustrating with the steam trains. They only go quite slow. It takes time to load the cars up. It takes time to couple things. It takes time to move things around the map. Everything takes time, which is why multiplayer is so much more fun, because I can be doing this while somebody else is running wood down to the smelter, or somebody else is taking the products of that to somewhere else, or, you know what I mean? It's made for multiplayer, which, incidentally, does work quite well. However, the game definitely needs some physics optimization. You can start off in a buttery smooth 60 FPS, and then the moment you start moving long trains around like this, the physics calculations between the cars definitely takes its toll on your machine. Like, you start to lose 10 FPS, and then another player joins, he drives a train around, you're the host, you seem to be calculating the physics for his train as far as I can work out, and it does start to add up, and the host does get a bit of an FPS hit. Not only that, but the client's draw distance, like, if I was joined somebody else's server now, and there was a train back there, I wouldn't see that train. That would be out of my draw distance. Wouldn't see it. So that's something to be aware of, is the multiplayer definitely needs some work as well. But with all its limitations, this is still a very fun game. Now, let me talk about the price. This is not a cheap game. This is one of the most expensive early access games I think I've ever seen. £25 on Steam it comes in at. £25. That is, what, $33, $32, something like that? That's a lot for an early access game. So you might have to sit back and think, I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money on an early access game, especially one with a bit of a dodgy UI and some janky bits to it. And I totally get that. I'm definitely not pushing this game to you. But I am saying, I spent £25 on this game and I've had 60 hours in it already, and I'm not even getting going yet. I'm probably going to push 100 within the next 2 weeks. So value for money is definitely there for me. If you can put up with its jankiness. And speaking of jankiness, you see this here, you're probably wondering what that is. That's ground slope that I've put in so that I can get back up. If I fall off this track, I can get back on the track. There are no ladders in the game, so you can't just climb back on your bridges. You need to put things in like that. But you see this here? This lovely curve, sweeping curve? That took me like an hour or two to build, to get it right, to get it sweeping with this junction. If this is your thing, if railroad engineering is your thing, and if multiplayer moving logistics around is your thing, you're going to like this game. If not, stay away, because it'll probably drive you mad. So what else is there not to like? There's no tutorial. After this video, I plan on making some videos to help you guys out if you want to play this game, because There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of tricks. There's a lot of information that I can pass on that I've picked up from other people and other players, and I intend to do that. But there is no inbuilt tutorial. It just throws you into the game, says, there you go, mate, get on with it. Work out the UI yourself. Oh, the G key, yeah, I've got to do everything via this G key. Yeah, that's basically where it's at. It just gives you like a one-page. Actually, I'll show you. I think it's press H. There you go. That's your tutorial right there. That's it. That's the whole thing. Right, so be prepared for that as well. This bit flattens out, so I need to just use some power to get over this flat bit. So there's none of that. The gradients of the track, when you're putting track down and it tells you what the gradient of the slope is, like 3%, you can put it down. But when you put it down, you don't know what it is anymore. Like, I have no idea what gradient this is. It might be 1%, 2%, no clue. There's no contour lines either. Yeah. So when I look at this map, look at that map there. All I can see is hills. There's no contour lines. When I'm trying to plan to get from here down to there, I don't know what that elevation drop is. How far is that? No idea. It wants you to do engineering, but then doesn't really give you the means to do it, the tools to do it. So be aware of that as well. You've literally got to eyeball everything. I've got to eyeball all these curves. 3% drop all the way to get down there. You might find yourself building a bridge all the way down here, only to find out when you get to the smelter that you're still not low enough and you have to keep going. Only trial and error will get you there. You can't sit there and plan this out very easily. So that's another thing. You can't visualize the heights of things. Also, the economy. Like, stuff is pretty expensive. It doesn't really show you the price that you get for things. You have to take stuff there and just see what you get. There are spreadsheets online that tell you how much you get for various goods. But you can't really plan that either. You've just got to take stuff around and make some money and then see what you can get. And some of these things are expensive to buy. Like this loco here is a few $1,000s in-game money. Those gondolas are like 800 each. 800 times 9. That's a lot of money when you're only earning like $20 a log or something. So be aware of that as well. What else can I talk about? There's no hiring. I can't hire this gondola. I can't get a loan to the capital outlay for this train or these cars. I can't get the money together any other way. Like in Eurotruck, you can take a loan out to buy your first truck. There's no concept of that in the game right now. You've just got to earn the money until you can buy it. I can't rent these gondolas and give a percentage of the profit to the owner. There's no concept of that yet. Will it come in? Don't know. It's an early access game. It's hard to say. There's only one map. That's the next thing. There's only one map. I gotta say to you guys, like, when this game allows other people to create maps, it will be a beautiful thing. Because the entire challenge of this game lies in taking a map and working how to plan track across it, then go and build it, and then drive trains around it and make money. And when mod authors can actually make us brand new maps, this is going to be amazing. That's not to say that, what's here is not fun. It's a lot of fun. But when you've done it, and I've not done it yet, not completely, but when you've done it, you might go back and redo things. I've done that a lot. I've redone various sections of things. But beyond that, the longevity of the game lies in the fact that you might be able to try different maps in the future. So I really look forward to the day. I'm going to take this brake off now, once it's slowed down enough, because we're on a flat bit. I don't want to take it off just yet, otherwise I won't be able to catch the train itself, but we'll just let it slow down. That should be enough, right. Yeah, I can run faster than that now. Another reason why we need multiplayer. Somebody up there while I'm back here on the brakes. Because this train will just keep going. If I hit a downslope, it'll just disappear on me and I'll never get it back. And the whole thing will just derail. But you might argue that's part of the fun. Right, let's put some boost back in. So there's no official mod support. There's only one map. That's the other downside. But if you want to get on board, there is a ton of playability here. You can have a lot of fun, particularly with your friends. Hang on, I'm going the wrong way. No. Yes, no, yes. I think that point's set incorrectly. Yeah, I should have gone in there, I think. Yeah, we can actually get in around the back, but I'll have to set the points for it. Let's see. Okay, so what we'll do... Actually, no, because we're going a bit quick here. Let me just slow the train down a little bit. I should have turned in there. Oh, it's fine. I created a loop yard, so... Run! What I want to do is go on the outer track, so it looks like that's the way we're going. Yeah, they're both set for the outer track, so I think we're okay. It should take us... If we're on the outer track, it should take us from memory around that. That's the other thing, because I can't visualise this stuff right now. I can't see what the points are at from a distance, and I can't see what this track layout looks like unless I use the Railroads Online Extended mod. And that's the other thing. If you buy the game, seriously, go and look for Railroads Online Extended. It's an open source project, and it is an extremely useful tool for playing this game. You can see all the iron I've got here now, just loads of it starting to pile up. This smelter has 2 outputs, and if one of the outputs fills up, it will only output to the other one until that's full, at which point it will stop outputting altogether. It never used to be that way. It used to be that if one output filled up, it would stop making anything, but they changed it. So now, all it really does is waste resources, think of it that way. Like if I bring an iron ore into here and cordwood, I can make 2 outputs. If one of them's full and I do it, I'm not getting the best. What you really want to do is have a load of cars, take that and chuck them into some sidings until you need it. That's what you really want to do, so you're not wasting any output. So the cordwood goes there, you can see some of it stacked up. And then the iron ore comes into here. There we go. So 64 of 1,000, so... Jeez, that's a lot of weight. Oh my god, that's a lot of weight. Hang on. Stick it in reverse. But yeah, you get an idea of the weight. I'm playing it on hard physics, so the mass of that is about 75% of real values. Put it on realistic, it will be 100% real values. So what you do is you come along to here and you press the enter key and it toggles the unload and it starts to empty into here. You can see that? And then this mound actually does start to get bigger. I don't know if you can see it, but it's very, very gently starting to rise there. And that's it. That's basically, you know, how you get stuff. I've got 16,719. Let's just unload this one. Don't think we get paid for this, do we? Yes, we do. So we're getting paid. What's that? $20 per go. Yeah, $20 per unit. 1 unit of iron ore is paying $20. That's the economy right there. And these take 10. So that was $200 for each car, $1,800 for the whole thing. Firewood is free. Water is free-ish. If the way you check your water, by the way, is if you come in here, you can see there's a load of water in there. Or if you actually crouch, if you don't see the water level, it means it's above you. So it's got a lot of water. Like I said, the only thing to do is to put firewood in there. You've got to keep taking wood from here and chucking it in there. If you want more water, at the moment it's free. You can just go to build facility and then build a water tower, and you just kind of line up that wooden plank that disappears underneath here. Just line it up like that, and then you basically pull that chute down. You put the train underneath here, open up that lid, and then pull the water, and it fills up your tank. If you get what I mean. Other facilities you can build are a sand house like that, so you can come back and refill your sand. Never used it, never really used much sand. You can build a firewood depot. The firewood depot is something you put a track alongside, and then you can get firewood from it, and it takes an input of raw wood from the lumber yard. So you just put wood in, get firewood out. These are all free to buy at the moment, but I don't suspect they will be forever. And then an engine shed, which is quite cool if you want to make an engine shed. Not that it's particularly useful, because let's just open it. You can use it. You can put a locomotive in it, but I've generally found that all my locomotives are out doing things. But it's there for if you want it. Personally, what I would like to see happen next is more track shapes. There's not enough track components for the kind of things that you want to build. Anyway, that is a long enough first look video. I think that's given you a massive view of what the game is about. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to share it with your friends who might be thinking about the game. And then watch out for upcoming videos where I'm going to cover this game in more depth and show you basically how to build things. That's it from me. Take care, guys. Happy training.